The last segment of this program today will be dedicated to talking about a health challenge that has been with man for ages. It is polio, and it has caught our attention today. Seated and ready to discuss the topic, polio in Nigeria, are we still at risk? Is first of all Dr. Abdul Tunju Funsho, who is consultant physician cardiologist and a fellow of the Royal College of Physicians, London, and a past chairman, Rotary International Nigeria Polioplus Committee. Good morning. Welcome to the program.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
And of course, we have with us past Assistant Governor Saudat Abdul Azeez. She's with us, District Chairman for Polio Committee, District 9112.
9112.
So you see, it's so fresh, but anyway, we leave that.
So there's a 9111
yes,
and a 9112.
Yes. We now have a
Awesome.
9111 and a 9112.
Thank you.
Up until now was 9110, so we're getting used to it.
You
So
are
welcome to the show, and
Good morning.
yeah, it's so good to have you both. I tried to align with the topic
with the month.
today.
Beautiful.
So,
Yeah. It's polio month, I'm told.
Yes,
It is. Okay. So let's start with the man first or the woman before the...
it's,
Adam before Eve.
Okay, John, so let me
it's
give you the
ladies
honor
first before.
of starting with the first question.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I'm used to calling him PDG, so forgive me. That's past district governor, which is what he is. So PDG Funsho, could you, as first chairman of the Nigeria National Polioplus Committee, what would you say was the most significant challenge in eradicating polio in Nigeria, and how was it overcome?
Thank you very much. As a matter of fact, I'm not the first chairman. There were three, as a matter of fact,
Before you.
They didn't just stay long enough. They didn't bite the bullet as much as witness some of the things you wanted us, to talk about, which were the challenges.
Yes.
I think one of the toughest challenges was getting people to accept, the fact, that we need to eradicate polio. And we learned the hard way. Because sometimes we think that when we want to give somebody something good, that person will automatically embrace it, particularly if it's free in an environment. There's always an element of suspicion. So, like the popular saying, you cannot shave a man's head in his absence. So if you're going to eradicate polio, the only way you can do it is by immunizing children, giving them the shots or the drops in their mouths. The drops are the ones most commonly used and known. So there was a lot of pushback.
Okay.
Because people didn't
Understand.
They didn't trust.
Yes. So we'll do it better next time if we face similar, challenges, to do a lot of work, trying to create awareness and create acceptance and buy-in. And now we are also going one step further by trying to create demand. Because once people know about the campaign, they know it's good for them, then we should be the ones who would be
Doing the shakara now.
Yes, wanting, because they want it, it's not there.
Yes.
So that's the kind of stage we got to. But we got to a point where about 7 states in the northern part of the country, the government totally stopped immunizing children, not only for polio, but for other antigens.
Why?
Because of this suspicion that is harmful, there were propaganda that sterilizes young girls and spreads HIV, AIDS, and so on.
Yeah.
Sadly, this emanated, from the West, from the United States.
Wow.
Because as I speak, there are still very strong anti-vaccine people. They don't call them anti-vax people.
Yes.
Who, as I speak, are still against vaccination of any type, not just polio. And that's why we saw some resurgence of measles, even in America, in recent times.
Wow.
So that's one major problem, of people saying no to vaccination for various reasons which are not genuine.
All right.
We know we have reduced, the amount of children being paralyzed by polio just because of the vaccination.
Okay,
Awesome.
great.
Thank you.
Great.
Past Assistant
Governor.
Adenike, as a current district governor right now,
Polioplus committee chair.
Polioplus committee chair at the moment, what strategies are being implemented by you and your committee to ensure that Nigeria remains polio-free, especially in rural areas? You talked about the north now and the apathy there. Pick up from that point, please.
Thank you very much. One thing we must realize is this district covers part of Lagos State and part of Ogun State. So whatever strategy we employ will be for this location. It can't extend to the north. But generally there is a national committee which includes all districts in Nigeria that have formed strategies to ensure that every nook and cranny is covered, especially with vaccination. In District 9112, what we are trying to do is first to ensure that we continue to create awareness that polio vaccination is never too much. You must vaccinate and revaccinate until your child turns 5. So it's from a day old
to 5 years.
To 5 years. And as you cover many children in that age group, you begin to achieve what is called herd immunity, for all the children in the communities there. While we are doing that in Lagos and Ogun States, we must be aware that we also have some hard-to-reach areas, even though we think we're the cities, the Marocos, and all that, where they live partly on land, partly on water.
Yeah.
We've got to find a way to access them and take our vaccines on canoes, and take a ride right to their doorsteps. We have people giving us children. We're in the canoe, they're on top of their raft, they hand to us, we vaccinate and hand back to them. You have to get to that level before
That's
you
the
can
strategy.
That's the strategy we are employing. And of course, we believe it's working.
And we're seeing the results actually.
Okay.
I mean,
Thank you.
regardless that comment is coming from me.
Yeah.
Well, I'll come back to you, PDG Funsho. Now, a lot has happened. I just said to you at the start of the show that I just found out that this attire I'm using is close to 10 years, which means that a lot has happened. Now, people know about polio. Then they hear about Polioplus. So there's been a lot of development here and there. Could you just take us through how Polioplus has evolved over the years?
Yeah, that's a very good question. It's something we want to put out in the public domain so that people appreciate, how far this journey has been. Rotary came up with the idea of eradicating polio first in the Philippines in the late 70s. The government of that country was very much, on board and involved, and of course Rotarians. And Rotary provided the funds to rid that country, Philippines, of polio in 2.5 years. That success gave Rotary the impetus to start dreaming big. See, if we can do it in the Philippines, why can't we do it in the rest of the world? It took a bit of convincing other partners, particularly WHO, who came on board to say, yes, this can be done if we can get all the governments of the world on board. And so in 1987, the World Health Assembly adopted the eradication of polio worldwide as a priority.
Yeah.
And that was when it all started. But then it was crawling for quite a while, particularly in Africa. That was one of the most worst hit, region of the world, apart from, South Asia. Until about 1996, 97, when late President Mandela, God bless his soul, floated the idea of kick polio out of Africa. Mm-hmm. And that woke up a lot of African countries to now take polio eradication seriously. And since then, most governments, have been putting in a lot of resources, both human and material, to ensure that we get polio eradicated. And that is what has gotten us to where we are today.
Yeah.
To get us to the point where Nigeria, and as a result of that, Africa was certified polio-free country and continent in August of 2020.
Wow. Okay.
So a lot of water has gone under the bridge. We have reduced the geographical area from 125 countries to just 2 countries.
Okay.
Those 2 countries are Afghanistan and Pakistan. And we've reduced the total number of cases, if we take on the annual basis, to 12 cases last year, as against 350,000 cases every year. That's approximately 1,000 cases when the program actually started in 1987.
Okay, so this success rate and the program now is what is associated or called Polioplus.
Well,
Because he was talking about polio,
Polioplus.
and now people are talking about polio. So we don't
yeah.
get,
Well, polio plus, the plus in that polio is our recognition of the fact that you cannot eradicate polio just by going for polio alone. There are other things, that make polio fester. The mode of transmission is what we call the fecal-oral route. In other words, on sanitary environments where people drink and water, that has been contaminated by sewage that contains the virus.
I see.
And so, number one, if you want to eradicate it, is not only by giving the vaccine.
Okay.
You want to ensure that the child
Preventing it also
preventing it.
is part
That's
of
the
the plus.
water. That's part of the plus.
That's part of the plus. Awesome. Thank you so much. And back to you, ma'am. With your experience in both the pharmaceuticals and healthcare sectors, what role do you think that vaccine distribution play in polio eradication in Nigeria, especially, with lack of education and enlightenment by a lot of mothers and maybe fathers who really would have to give you the consent for your job to get done?
Thank you very much. Availability of the vaccines is actually the key to polio eradication. Once you have the vaccines readily available and well stored, then you have the bullet. What remains is how to shoot it. The problem we usually have around here is to ensure that they store these vaccines in the right temperature and conditions. And that's why you see that anytime we have National Polio Immunization Days, you see Rotarians, WHO officers, UNICEF officers going from local government to local government as early as 6:30 a.m. in the morning to ensure that we check the vaccines they are taking out. There's no point in taking out a vaccine that has already been denatured. So we must be sure that your vaccine is in the proper state before vaccination starts. That is a big challenge for the health workers in this country and practically the whole of Africa, where availability of power supply to keep your freezers, your fridges at the right temperature is an issue. Thank God for technology, because right now we have solar refrigerators that are helping us, whether there's power supply or not. We can keep our vaccines at the right temperature. And these are being made available to various local government vaccine centers. Okay. The states have state vaccine storage centers. Local governments also have. So these solar refrigerators have been helping us, and we have found out that the percentage of vaccines that are kept in usable states is getting higher and higher than when the fight started. So I think we're on our way.
Well done.
Wow.
Well, I forgive me, but I'm still a little intimidated, with the presence of the big masquerade. Especially, when I think about I remember that in 2020, Time magazine, recognized him as one of 100 most influential men in the world.
Wow, 100.
Yes, 100. And you know what the world's population is. So forgive me if I stutter a bit when I ask him questions. But I'd love to squeeze this in, PDG. Nigeria was, in 2020, Nigeria was declared free of wild polio virus. And I pick my words carefully, and I'm sure you know why. Are there any concerns about a resurgence of polio, particularly with the circulating vaccine-derived
yes, yes, we've been certified wild polio virus free. And that was our major focus until now, when we now have this vaccine variant. What the vaccine variant means? There's a difference. There's a difference in the morphology of the virus and the genetic composition of the virus itself. But it is derived from the vaccine virus. You see, the oral polio vaccine we're giving is what we call an attenuated vaccine. The virus has been weakened so that it will not cause infection, but it can stimulate the body's immune system to fight, any invading polio virus. What has happened in the last 5 years or so is like what we saw with COVID, that the vaccine virus now mutates from a virus that shouldn't cause disease and stimulate only immunity to a virus that now, in some cases, causes paralysis.
Wow.
And we were quite confident at that time that we would put a lid on it very quickly.
Yeah.
But the wild virus, number one, is the most virulent, is the most important for us to get rid of because we had the wherewithal to do so. When this vaccine variant came in, it became obvious to us that vaccine variant that we're getting, we need to stop that particular vaccines and produce a new vaccine that has more stability and less inclination to mutate and cause disease in children.
Great.
So we are now using what we call the novel oral polio vaccine, which is what we are using in most of our mass campaigns now to try and put a lid on the circulating variant that we've been having mostly in the northern part of the country.
Okay.
All right.
I'm happy you cleared that.
We are almost out of time. So I would like for you, like someone who's just jumping into the show now, and we're talking polio, what would be the 2 key things that you would say to, make that parent, for example, be receptive and be calm and not to be afraid?
If I had the opportunity to do that, I'll just show the parent a picture of a child with polio and offer the vaccine. Would you want your child to go this way?
This way.
Or remain healthy? And it is our responsibility, jointly, to ensure that we hand over a polio-free world.
Final words.
Final words.
Final words.
I think my final words would be to assure the world that polio will be eradicated. We have the tools. When I say we, I mean, Rotary, the governments of the world, our global polio eradication partners, WHO, UNICEF, the Gates Foundation, and also Gavi, the Vaccine Alliance. But we've also had a lot of help in Nigeria, both from the Gates Foundation and Aliko Dangote, and also, yes, so it is just a matter of time, but we can't wait, because we don't want any more child to be.
All right, thank you very much, very hurriedly, but we know that so many people have benefited from the conversation this morning. Thank you for coming.
Absolutely, and I'll say that really we've been selflessly serving the world. As Rotarians, we hope that Helen will join us.
Yes, I am there. I'm already part of
it. So thank you so much. So I'll just take my nugget. I'll go to my nugget quickly, if I can have my nugget up now for me, please.
Okay.
Yes.
So if they say no nugget today,
if they say no nugget today, we take a walk. So let's go straight to my nugget. Can we do that quickly?
Thank you.
So the nugget for today is this: we learn to walk so we don't fall all the time, and we learn to do things right so we can avoid pitfalls.
Yes.
Speaking is a skill, and skills are dynamic. Broadening your skills is what makes them meaningful. As leaders, skill acquisition is just one step, while skill improvement is a leadership empowerment tool which should never be ignored. If you want to improve on your speech skills, ask who?
Yes.
Thank you so much. So that'll be it for today.
Yeah, awesome. I have really enjoyed my time on the program today, and I believe you have too. Coming from talking about company registration and all that you need to know, and then to newscasting with Bimbo Oloyede, and here we are, with Madam and the past district governor,
PDG and PAG,
who are doing extremely well, making sure that Nigeria and the world is rid of polio. That's our show today. Join us again same time next week. I'm Helen Onteleye. God bless you.
And I'm John Senaya. I'm out.